Croeso Bob, my friends. I hope this finds you well. And so, looking at today's gospel reading, we see that the disciples have returned to Jesus after a time of ministry. Now, we heard during the readings over the midweek services last week that Jesus sent them out. It was when he commissions them. He says to them, travel light, take no money with you, wear only 2 tunics. That story. Well, the disciples, they've been out. They've been healing, they've been teaching, they've been preaching. And then they return to Jesus. They return to him for a debrief. And they share all the things that they've done, the things they've taught, the people they've healed, the unclean spirits that they've driven out. And like any good leader, Jesus sits with them. He recognizes their exhaustion. He sees them in their fatigue after their time of mission. And he acts decisively. He acts immediately. He invites them to come away with him to a quiet place to rest and recharge. Indeed, Mark 6:31 says, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." Now, Jesus knows the limits of the human body. He knows the limits of the human spirit. He understands that even those who are about God's work need time to recharge and renew. You see, in the busyness of our lives, we can often forget that this essential truth. Rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. We can often feel compelled by circumstance or by others even, by the culture we find ourselves in, to forego rest, to ignore the need to recharge. It's not selfish to take that time out for our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Believe me, it's something I'm learning very, very slowly. In ministry, I find my own struggle. I will push myself to the nth degree. Next week now is full on, it's solid all week. My diary is absolutely heaving. Now, Friday's my day off. And the temptation to push things to the Friday in order to deal with that Friday. I've got more time Friday. You can't do that. And one thing that I was always taught during my training was that your day off needs to be protected. It's not selfish to stop and to pause and to take time out. Something, again, like I said, I'm learning very slowly indeed. I've worked more than once. Have I gone 10 plus days without a break? And it's not healthy, and it's not good. And by the end of it, you're ineffective. You're not making the right calls. You're not making the right decisions. You're short, you're sharp with people. It's not good. It's not good. What Jesus does in this gospel is he invites us to take time out with him. He invites us to take time away from the demands of life, to sit with him in his stillness, to take time in his presence, because it's here that we find the rest our souls oh so desperately need. Jesus and the disciples, they retreat to a secluded place. They rest, and it's here that they're met by a crowd. The people see them leaving and they run to meet them. Jesus and the disciples were looking for a place of peace, for a place of solitude, but the crowd's needs were persistent. They were hungry for healing, for teaching, for any kind of word from the Lord. Mark 6:33 says to us, "But many who saw them leaving recognized them, and they ran on foot from all the towns to get there ahead of them." This moment speaks to the reality that's often the needs of those who are around us, the needs of the people whom we love, they can be somewhat overwhelming. One of the things I've found in ministry is that when you are in charge of a congregation, you feel their pain, you take their needs onto yourself, and it can often be overwhelming. The demands of the world doesn't take a break. And people will often need us at the most inconvenient of times. So many times I've had an email come in, or a phone call, or a text that needs actioning, and I've had some of them come in at like 10:30 at night, which is mad. But here's the key. Jesus doesn't rebuke the crowd. for interrupting his time to debrief with the disciples. Instead, he responds to them with compassion. He doesn't look at them as a bother or a distraction. He sees them as sheep without a shepherd. He sees them in their moments of need, and he meets them there with grace and with love. As the crowd gathers around Jesus, he looks at them with that very same compassion. Mark 6:34 tells us, when Jesus landed, he saw a large crowd. He had compassion upon them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Jesus does not turn away from the people. Indeed, he lets the disciples rest, and he goes out and ministers to the crowd. He takes center stage so that his team can rest and recharge. He doesn't see the crowd as an interruption. He sees them as an opportunity to minister. Jesus sees them as an opportunity to teach, to heal, and to love God's people. His heart breaks for their condition. The people are like sheep without a shepherd. They're lost, wandering, in need of guidance. Jesus' compassion is never limited by our own schedules or our own exhaustion. You see, friends, his love is constant and it's unchanging. We can lean on him when we feel drained, overwhelmed, or spent. Or when we're feeling energized, when we're feeling happy, when we're feeling good about things, when we're feeling bright, alert, and ready, willing, and able. Again, Jesus is there. Just as he responded to the crowd, he will respond to us. He will offer us his presence, his care, and his direction. So I know what you're thinking, Viking Vicar, how can I apply any of this? Because I'm the font of all wisdom, clearly. I'm joking, I'm not. Honestly, make time to rest in God's presence. Just as Jesus invites his disciples to go away with him and rest, he invites us to prioritize time with him. Whether it's through prayer, through reading scripture, whether it's simply sitting in silence, we need to make time to rest in God's presence. We're no good to anybody if we don't first care for ourselves. And that be spiritual, that be emotional, that be mental. I'm learning all this as time goes on myself, just as I'm sitting here preaching it. Secondly, we respond to the needs of those around us with compassion. Jesus showed us how to respond when the world demands more from us. It's so easy for us to be frustrated, overwhelmed even by the needs around us. I've seen it happen to other clerics, to other people. We can become resentful, even bitter. But like Jesus, we're called to look upon them with compassion, not irritation. Even when we feel exhausted, God gives us the strength to serve others in his love. And thirdly, Jesus is our shepherd. In a world where we can easily feel lost or easily feel scattered, Jesus is the good shepherd who leads us beside those still waters and restores our soul. The 23rd Psalm tells us that. And so to conclude, the gospel reading from Mark 6:30 to 34, it reminds us that Jesus understands our need for rest. Jesus is aware of the demands upon our lives. He responds to us with deep, limitless compassion. In a world that constantly demands more from us. My brothers and sisters, let's find our rest in Jesus, our shepherd. And as we rest in him, let's also be ready to respond to a world around us by being that channel of his love, that channel of his compassion. And let's trust that he will provide what we need to serve those things that he brings to us, to serve those people that he leads to us. Because as channels of his grace and his peace, this is what we're called to do, but never to the point of exhausting ourselves. And so, my friends, that brings us to the end of today's video. Just checking on my iPad here. I have another email. I know, it's shocking. Would you believe it? This one's from Sue, doesn't mind being named. Oh, fair play, well done. So, Sue is asking me, let me move back a moment. I'm sat in church. Sue is asking, Viking Vicar, where do you record your videos? Some of the churches you're in are absolutely beautiful. You're totally right there, Sue. Where do I record my sermons or my videos? Often, I'll use my home office. That's the one with all the clutter behind me and the sword on the wall. I know, sword on the wall, of all things. This church is the one I live next door to it. I have the vicarage here. This is sort of my base church. I've used a couple of others, a couple of other base churches. Generally, I'll record wherever I can, but yeah, we've got some beautiful churches here in the valleys. So it's quite nice. So I hope that answers your question, Sue. If not, give me another shout and I'll try and re-explain it. But my friends, the email address, it's slowly gaining traction. I think I've had 4 emails, so it's coming. Yay! Please do reach out via the email address with any questions, comments. I still haven't had any birthdays yet, though. That's one thing. I haven't had any birthdays yet. So give me a shout if it's your birthday. I think that's everything we were going to talk about today. So, that being said, my friends, all that remains for me to say is this. Reach out via the email address. Have a good week. And whatever you're doing, take care. As always, my friends, it's an absolute pleasure, honour and joy to be here. Oh, and well done last week, the quote I threw out. It was absolutely gotten quite quickly, actually. Maybe I should start doing a random movie quote at the end of every video. Let me know what you think to that. And also, yes, I saw the comment, yes to a prayer video. So I will actually do a video at some point based exclusively on prayer. And we'll talk about that, the different types and whatnot. That's a project I'm going to put together when I've got a bit of a lighter week. This week is absolutely mad. I've got a meeting tomorrow. I've got district council meeting tomorrow. I've then got, on Tuesday, I've got a clergy day all day. Wednesday, I've got a service. I'm meeting my archdeacon. Thursday, I've got a pastoral visit and then a service in the evening. And it just goes on and on and on. So I will try to put a video for prayer together because I think prayer is one of these things that it is absolutely, I won't say underrated. That's not the word I'd like to use, but it's one of these things that's often not given the time it needs, you know? So anyway, this time I definitely am finishing. Reach out via the email address, my friends, and whatever you're doing, be careful. God bless you, my friends, and take care.